So when you talk to the AI agent, you probably think that 99% of it is just you talking to Claude Code agent, but that is not really the case, And this is definitely for those people who think that the AI is going to take over the jobs, and then there will not be any software companies just because software is a solved problem. Well, it is not, because if you look at Hermes Agent, and then if you look at the Cloud Code, which is the agent that is used by everybody for coding, it actually is 98% to 99% of the code itself. It is itself the code that is actually going to help you to write down the code. It is not you just talking to the AI model. And that is the idea, I think, that people don't really understand, or people don't really grasp when they talk about that AI is going to take over the job market, because it really can take over the job market when they themselves need to actually write down the code to help you write down the code. And even their code is not perfect, and they're not able to solve a lot of problems that they yet need to. So if you're thinking that AI is going to take over your job, well, it might actually take over the company that you're working in, because somebody else is going to write down somebody else is going to write down a better software or a better business model. But software itself is not going away. The software development itself is not going away. And what you need to do is you need to actually get deeper into how the things are working behind the scenes. So let's get started with Hermes Agent. Let's look at what Hermes Agent actually does, right? Hermes Agent, basically, if you yourself have not installed it, I think you should do it. I deployed it on my DigitalOcean account. And Hermes Agent basically is like OpenClaw. And OpenClaw is basically, you can run the agent on any server if you want to, or maybe in the cloud, or maybe on your own system. And then you can hook it up with maybe Cloud Code, or maybe you can hook it up with any open router model, or you can hook it up with OpenLlama. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's up to you. And then you can use it through your Telegram, or you can use it through anything, right? But that's what basically it. I think OpenClaw was just supposed to help you get access to your agent through terminal or through Telegram or through WhatsApp. But people don't really realize that it was actually supposed to be the personal agent. It was not supposed to be the one thing that's going to take over the whole company. Well, it might. I don't know. I mean, don't hold me accountable for thing if it does. But I think there is a very less chance that happens. And the reason behind that is, we will talk about that later in this video. But let's look at the code, basically. So if you look at Hermes Agent itself, right, it's a lot of code. And it is not just that AI model is talking to you through terminal, and then AI model is able itself to think that, okay, this is what you need to do. No, there is actually a lot of harness built around it. And the reason behind why a lot of harness is built around it is because AI agent itself doesn't know about your code. It needs to have access to your code. It needs to have access to your files. It needs to have access to your UI layer, which is basically everything that is getting rendered on the terminal itself, right? It needs to have access to the memory files that it is writing down on your system. And how does it know that, okay, in last session you asked about the same thing again? Well, because it is saving the memory and it is saving the sessions on your system so that it is able to access them. All of those things are the code. And they are not just that, okay, they are not the AI code. They are actually the actual code that is written down to figure out that, okay, you are able to search something or not. Well, there are several nuances to it. Basically, what Cloud Code currently uses is called agentic search. Agentic search is basically where you are able to, build out the files in your own system, and then you ask AI agent that, okay, you have the access to your folder, you can search through the folders, and then you can try to find out the relevant files, and then you can read it. But still, at the end of the day, it is just the model crawling your own system, and that crawl capability has to be there, that is getting supported by the tools, right? So all of this is code. So code is actually not going away. AI is not going to take over the code. What's going to happen is AI is going to maybe make your code more relevant, and then if you're somebody who likes to think more about architecture, it is going to make you more relevant. Hermes Agent itself is 500,000 lines of code, and Cloud Code is like 300,000 lines of code, and probably it is far more. This was like, we got to know because it was leaked in 2025, by the end of 2025, I think. But the model itself is not the product, the Hermes is, right? The Cloud Code itself that you see, yes, the model exists and it's really good. The Fable 5 did the tremendous job. But if you look at the code itself, if you look at the Claude Code itself, it needs a lot of things for you to actually be able to run it. So it's not going away. It's not going away. So it is part of a much larger system that actually runs behind the scene. And I have a reason to believe why I think coding is still not a solved problem, and why I think these models are going to get much better, and they will be able to solve a lot of big problems. And the reason behind that is that currently they use a very low, very the method that has been here for like, I don't know, for many years, which is like RAG pipelines, right? They use RAG. So if you want to learn anything about AI, you need to learn about RAG as well, right? So it is a retrieval augmented generation, and the way it works is basically it's able to help you fetch the files and then fetch the prompts, maybe just based on the semantic search, or just based on, there are several different ideas behind it too. So like one of it is just simple RAG, right, where you are able to perform the semantic search on your system, and the other one is like where you are able to perform the graph RAG, which is like the node of the systems, the node of the memory itself. It's a bit complex system, I would say, not the simpler one. It's not something that's just going to be implemented simply. So do use it only if you want to, right? So the first one is going to be RAG with vectors, right? So if you are able to retrieve the context from your memory based on the semantic search, and then what you can do is you can take the node. Let's think of some idea, right, why the graph RAG is useful. Let's take the example of the domain where you have the inheritance, right? For example, you have car, and then inside the car you might have electric cars, and then you might have petrol, you might have diesel, you might have gas, and then inside that you might have very different cars as well, right? For example, SUV, sedan, etc. And then what you want to do is you want your model to be able to access the specifications for each of these cars, and the way for you to lay out this information is through RAG pipeline, right? If user asks about car, you fetch all of the data that is based on the car. If user asks about sedan, you fetch all of the data based on the sedan, but you along the way also figure out that okay, sedan was supposed to be the car, so you get and fetch all other different related data as well. So it's supposed to be like a graph, right? But yeah, at the end of the day, graph RAG is not going to solve the problem. At the end of the day, RAG is not going to solve the problem. Hermes has already done it. And LLMs, basically agentic AI search, I think Claude Code is already doing it, and it has not solved the problem. So basically, I want to talk about a few things. First of all, if you yourself want to solve the problem for your own company, for your product, for your, for the thing that you want to do, first of all, I think Hermes model is really good. AI models itself are going to get better. They will be, of course, expensive as hell as well. And Fable 5, if ever released, I think it will be released at 2 times the cost. But what you need to know is that all of these models are useless if you don't know what harness is. And why am I ranting over about everything that the Claude Code does, or Open Code does, or Hermes Agent does, is so that you yourself are able to think that you have the capability right now that you can use to build out some application, the phenomenal thing that is going to probably help you earn some money. So let's look at some of the harness model that these companies use at the moment, right? So the first thing is the tool definitions itself, right? So if I got to know about this from one of the tweet that I was reading, and this guy basically is on the path to build out maybe a solution for the memory itself, right? So what this guy talked about is that he got the access to Claude Code leaked code piece, right? And he was able to figure out, and he looked into how the code base itself is written, right? And he documented this properly in this post. I will write it down in the YouTube comment. You can search it, and then you can actually read it. It's really good. But basically what's happening is that behind the scenes, this Claude Code agent is actually using the tools itself, right? The tools like providing the access to the files or the memory that you're writing down, or providing the access to Perplexity to do the search, right? Or all of those other things, basically. I basically actually wrote down and built a video as well on all of these things. I mean, you can check it on my channel. And the RAG pipeline, I think I'm going to make a video on this. It is basically for you to actually be able to search the things that are there on your memory, because Claude Code need to know the access to all of your project, and it is a big project, right? If you have like like, I don't know, maybe 100,000 lines of code. You probably have 100,000 lines of spec as well, or the product notes as well in your mind, which are not documented, or maybe even more, right? The business decisions are really documented. So, but Cloud Code has to write down all of these things that the decision it is making, and it has to search it as well. So the RAG pipeline comes in, right? It also has to search the code base as well, right? So all of those things are there. The UI UX layer, the terminal. I mean, there are a lot of bugs in the terminal. It used to flicker, and then that existed for like, I don't know, 1 year. So rendering things on the terminal is also not easy. They are like a big projects that are just helping you to build out the terminal and rendering on the terminal, right? The parsers and validators, the rate emitters, the logging, the config scaffolding, and then the AI logic is just 500 lines of code, which probably is going to be like making the call to a model and then figuring out what it actually wants you to do next, right? So what I want you to let you know is that AI logic, if your whole product looks like AI logic, the eighth part, then it is not really a good product. It might actually break in production because you haven't given it access to the validations. It just send the message to the customer that you don't want it to send to, right? And then it maybe not have the rate limiting, it maybe not have the observability, so you can figure out where does it actually fail, and then all of those things. And the cost matters a lot, right? Because Cloud Code is able to give you such a big subscription because they have written down all of these things marvelous that is not going to let you break their AI models with a lot of requests, right? They have a cache model behind it, and they're able to actually do a lot of stuff by spending a lot less tokens in subscription model for you. And so basically what's right now happening is that these companies are saying that, okay, like this is the big problem, right? The big problem is that right now these companies are saying that we have solved the coding, we have solved the software, and we have solved the memory as well. But they have not. They have not solved the memory. Nobody has solved the memory till now. What they are actually doing is they are just agents, right? Like Cloud Code Agent is there, right? You search for something, and then the agent itself search for those things in the files, right? And then it returns you the result, right? So it returns the result based on a query. Could be RAG, could be, I don't know, agentic search doing the things on its own, right? But if you look at yourself, right? If you look at yourself, when you walk into the room, you are already familiar with all the things that are in the room. Maybe it could be the walls, or it could be the screens, or it could be, you walking into the room and then you are familiar with the people. All of those memories are there in your brain, and you don't have to recall it. It is just there. It is able to recall itself, right? So this is a challenge I think that this guy is trying to solve. If you look at this Ngram, so this guy is from MIT, I guess, right? So he first of all created all of this big video on Cloud Code and bashed it basically, and said that, okay, like this is why the Cloud Code is probably not going to work for the memory. So what Ngram is going to do is they are actually looking into how to solve the same problem. So they are looking into how to solve the same problem, but through a very different phenomena actually. What they are doing is they are trying to figure out how the human memory works, right? And how humans are able to recall all of those things. So, but so every memory system today works the same way, right? You ask the question, it searches and it returns the results. This is basically what's happening right now. But this guy is going to do is, this guy is going to actually work based on the real memory, right? So there are things called ROM, right, which has the capacity for you to handle 100 million to 1 billion tokens. Like all of this is in this brain, right? So somehow what he's trying to figure out is that if you're able to replicate whatever happens in the brain, in the model itself, then maybe you have the memory. And I believe it too, right? So like if you look at it, is the difference of 10,000 to 100,000, right? So the 1,000 to 10,000 difference, and it is like in multiplication. So it's a lot more difference. So I don't think that chatbots are solved. And if you're building products, and then if you're thinking that coding agents are going to help you build the product autonomously through the loop engineering and stuff, it's not going to do that. And your job is good, your job is saved. You just have to learn how to build product over AI. You have to learn how the cursor works. You have to learn how the Cloud Code itself works, open code works, or Hermes Agent works. Don't just use the Hermes Agent. Try to look at the code base that they are writing, because you're on the other side. You are on this side. On this side, you just run the loop and then you expect the product to be there, right? But on their side, they're able to build the harness that is going to, at the end of the day, charge you to build that loop that is not probably going to do anything. So, but I hope that you just take one thing away from this video, that yes, loop matters, everything matters, but make sure that you are learning what these guys are actually doing to actually make money, if you really are honest, to make the money, because harness is going to be a difficult problem to solve, and there are going to be tons of products that are going to solve it. And I think if you could just build something that is going to help build the solve the harness problem, it's going to matter. So yeah, don't just you're trying to ship a product when the plumbing is not installed, right? So I'm going to build more videos on this harness engineering and probably help you figure out how this Claude Code works, how the Hermes Agent works. And if you yourself are going to build some product in your own company, or for your own startup, then however you rather do it, right? So we'll build a video on that. Subscribe me, comment down, and then see you in the next video.